So now what we're going to do is we're going to do some of the scenery here. And I'm going to share with you the technique that I use. I've learned this technique through the past couple of years from the military modelers. Start with sculpt to mold, and then I'm going to apply a acrylic paste. This one I'm going to be using from Vallejo. And all I'm going to do is put some on, just like this. Very easy to work with. You can maneuver it with water. And I don't use typically dirt for my scenery. My scenery technique's typically 5-6 steps. So now I'm going to take one of these old brushes and I'm just going to stipple this on, just to give it some texture. That's to start with. Like I said, I learned this technique from a buddy of mine who's a military modeler. To me, it's more realistic than just taking acrylic paint and just laying a layer of paint and then spreading your dirt. So here's the back side of the diorama, and I'm going to do the exact same thing with the ground. I'm just going to apply this paste, and then I'm going to stipple it with a crummy brush. And then after I've applied this paste, I go back over it with, instead of dirt, I use kitty litter. I like the kitty litter. I don't cover the whole ground with it. I just mix in some stuff with it. This is very easy to work with. If you put it on too thick, you can just dip a brush in water. So now what I'm going to do is take the brush and I'm just going to stipple it. And this is going to create a texture. This product goes a long way. Now in this area right here, probably going to do a dirt road. So I'm not going to cover that. And this is all I do with the kitty litter. Just put some on for texture. So here we have the first layer of the scenery done. I've applied the acrylic paste with the kitty litter. I'm going to let this dry for about 24 hours, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to go over it all, glue it with 50-50 matte medium and water. When I'm doing my scenery, I look at this as no different than when I'm weathering a building. It's just multiple layers to get the ideal effect that you're looking for. And I'm going to take you through each step of the way. So now that we've applied the sculpt to mold let that dry, and gone over it with the acrylic paste and used the kitty litter. I've applied my glue, everything's finished. The next step is going to be just use a sepia oil wash. Now what that will do is it will create highlights in the ground. So I'm just going to apply it just like this. It's going to go on rather dark, but it'll lighten up. And I'm going to let this dry before we apply the next phase of this. So now we're at the point where I can dry brush the kitty litter, and I'm going to use light buttermilk from Americana. So all I'm going to do here is just dry brush, just like we do everything else when we're building. I'm just getting the raised areas. Some of the dirt hasn't, or the kitty litter hasn't stuck, but that's okay. That'll come off. This really makes the groundwork pop. And this is all I'm going to do for right now. Just dry brush it, pull out the highlights. This is the look that you can create with that dry brushing technique, and I really think it's pretty realistic. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip my brush into some Liquitex matte medium, and I'm going to stipple the matte medium on just randomly. And I'm not covering the ground everywhere with this. Then I'm going to take some of this burnt grass and just go over the ground area. And whatever doesn't stick, I'll discard. And this is the first layer of scenery for me, always. Remember, when you're doing scenery, treat it just like you're doing your builds, in layers. I just like the effect that it creates. And that's how I start my scenery process. So now we're at the point where we're going to start doing the scenery on this diorama. And for this, about 99% of the product is going to come from Martin Welberg. The first product I'm going to use is WB-P261, then WB-P263, WB-P264, and then I'll incorporate some of the WB-P2121. Now to apply this, I'm going to be using this Beacon 3-in-1 glue. It sets up really quick. Martin recommended it, and I really like how easy it is to use. And then I'm just going to use a pointed pair of tweezers. So for this area right here, what I did first is I lightly sprinkled on some Woodland Scenics number T44, the burnt grass, the fine turf. That's going to be my base. And now I'm going to go over it in spots with Martin Welberg's tufts. Before I glue anything down, I'll pull a piece off and I'll just lay it down and just get a visual of how I want it to look or how it looks in that spot. So now all I'm doing is I'm just going to apply the glue to the back of this. Doesn't take much. It's pretty stringy, so got to be careful. And then I'm just going to apply it. Here I've peeled off another piece and just laid it out just to get a visual. I like the way that looks there, so now I'm just going to apply the glue to the back of it. Just stab it in. Don't be afraid to push it down. This product is really easy to use, and the effect is amazing. So all I'm doing now is finding pieces that I like, laying them out, and just scattering them around, and then just applying it. You really get a cool effect looking at it from this angle and this level. So right here, I just pulled a very tiny piece of the tuft and glued it into a crack, and it just gives a cool effect. So here's another crack right here, and I'm just gluing a really tiny tuft right in there. I would say this is my favorite part of building dioramas, is the scenery part. So here's another piece I pulled. I just turned the diorama around, and I'm going to apply the glue, and we're just going to put it in place. And this is just the first step. Now over in here, we'll probably go something a little lower. So for that, I'm going to use WB-P264. Yeah, I like the way that looks. So I'm just going to apply the glue, and this stuff sets up really quick. So it works great for this stuff. So in this area, what I want to do is I want to get a little more height and a little different texture in here. So for that, I'm going to use Martin Wahlberg product WB-SFMG, WB-SFLG, and WB-SFM. So I'm just going to use this small piece right here, and I'll glue that into a spot, and I'll show you the result. So right here, I just took 3 small pieces and put it in there, just to give some variation, give some color, and the effect looks really cool. So now I'm going to incorporate another one of my favorite products from Martin, and that is WB-LWSG, just a different shade of green, and I'm going to incorporate that right in this area right here. So let me do that, and I'll show you the result. And as you can see, I use that product right here and right here, just give them variation, and I just continue this process all the way through. This is where we are so far. I'm going to spin this around. Show you what we've done back here. I don't typically work on one spot. I'll go to different spots on the diorama when I'm doing this. Just hitting different spots, putting in weeds, tufts, some bushes. When doing scenery, it isn't about one product or even one step. It's about multiple layers and restraint. If this helped your build, give it a like and consider subscribing. I share realistic scenery, concrete, and weathering techniques right here at Craig's Modeling Corner. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next build.